Hello students, I am going to deliver the online lecture of the Managerial Economics. In the previous lectures, we have completed the perfect competition and monopoly, and I hope you have understood the concept of perfect competition and monopoly, how they are different from each other. In case of perfect competition, there are a large number of buyers and sellers, and firm is considered the price taker. And in case of monopoly, the monopolist is price maker. And here the topic is of interest is monopolistic competition, and there are so many buyers and so many sellers. In case of monopolistic competition, there are so many sellers who are competing with each other on the basis of differentiating of their products. As we have discussed, there are Uh, in market structure, there are so many markets which have the different features like perfect competition, monopoly, and imperfect competition. Imperfect competition prevail oligopoly and monopolistic competition, and also the monopoly. Now we have to see what is monopolistic competition. As I said that there are so many competitors who are competing with each other on the basis of difference of their products. And this market structure contains some characteristics present in both perfect competition and monopoly, and this is also called the extreme case of monopoly and perfect competition. There are numerous industries in which firms produce products that are close substitutes, and the market for hamburgers is a prime example. Many fast food restaurants produce hamburgers, but the hamburgers produced by one firm differ from those produced by other firms. Moreover, it is relatively easy for new firm to enter the market for this product. The monopolistic competition concept was given by John Robinson and Chamberlain. According to him, there are some conditions for monopolistic competition. If there are many buyers and sellers, so this is called monopolistic competition, and they all have the differentiated products, and there is free entry and exit. You can see here the books, bakery, and market is the best example of the monopolistic competition. There is little bit difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition. As I said that in case of perfect competition, there are large numbers of buyers and sellers. They are competing with each other. But in perfect competition, the products are same, and in monopolistic competition, the products are heterogeneous. The products are not same, and that's why they both differ slightly. As in case of monopolistic competition, these are not considered the perfect substitutes. In case of perfect competition, the goods are considered perfect substitutes. Here you can easily see the differences of the monopolistic competition and perfect competition. As in case of both, number of producers are more, and in case of types of goods, in case of perfect competition these are called homogeneous, and in case of monopolistic competition these are differentiated. Perfect competition has no control over price, and monopolistic has some control. That's why the demand curve will be negatively sloped, because they can change the price according to their will. There is no advertising in case of perfect competition, but monopolistic competition they have some advertising agencies, and they have the non-price competition. In perfect competition, there is no barrier in short run and long run, but in monopolistic competition, whenever we see there are some barriers. And also in perfect competition, there are both productive efficiency and allocative efficiency. But in monopolistic competition, they actually they don't have this. And why there is no allocative efficiency? Because the price is greater than marginal cost. As the monopolist case, in case of monopolist, we have seen that in the previous lecture that price is greater than marginal cost. And in case of productive efficiency, they will never minimize their average cost, but in case of perfect competition, they will minimize the average cost. So you can see from here that there are so many characteristics of the monopolistic competition, um, which are similar to the perfect competition and monopoly. So that's why it is called the mixed or the mixture of perfect competition and monopoly. So I have given you the example in uh, the previous slide, that they have, for example, McDonald hamburgers example, or the Burger King. There are, in both cases they have the slightly different. They are slightly different from each other. That's why they are called monopolistically competitive industry, and they have the downward sloping demand curve. They have slightly different taste from each other. That's why you can say that the monopolistically competitive firms, they differentiate on the basis of their different products. As I'm discussing that there are some traits or properties or characteristics of the monopolistic competition, and the first one is they make the independent decisions, and likewise the other market structure, perfect competition and monopoly, they have also some cost of production, and there are uh, some barriers to entry and exit, but slight differences than the perfect competition. They have the differentiation of products, and that differentiation may be the physical product differentiation, that will be marketing differentiation, that will be human capital differentiation, and there will be differentiation through distribution of products. So first of all, if you discuss the physical product differentiation, this is according to size, design, color, shape, performance, and features. And you can say here the marketing differentiation is also means the goods are different because of their lucrative packaging and promotional techniques, or some companies have the best advertising skills. That's why they are differing from one to another. Human capital differentiation is related to skills, the level of training received. Uh, you know that many firms have the different level of the training, and there is also differentiation through distribution, means through mail order or through internet shopping, such as Amazon.com, which differentiate itself from traditional bookstores by selling online. Like the monopolist, in case of monopolistic competition, the demand curve will also be the downward sloping, because each firm makes a unique product and it can charge a higher or lower price than its rival. So in this case, they will not take the price as it is. In case of perfect competition, there will be obviously the difference between perfect competition and monopolistic competition. So that's why they can change the price according to their will. The demand curve will be sloped downwards. They have the good advertising opportunities, or they advertise their goods, they advertise their products whenever they have some difference from one another, and they can make the advertising through local press and radio, cinema, posters, etc., or they can use the special promotions. And most importantly, these monopolistically competitive firms, they are profit maximizers. Also, they will always involve into the activities where the profit will be maximized. And as I explained earlier, that these are considered independent firms. Now you can go through here for further information about the monopolistic competition.
Monopolistic competition may sound like an oxymoron, since the term monopoly might suggest the absence of competition. But remember, in economics, everything exists on a continuum or a range with two extremes, one at each end. That's just what monopolistic competition is. An industry somewhere on the continuum between a pure monopoly, where a single firm holds all market power, and perfect competition, where many firms exist and each is a perfect substitute for the other. There are four conditions that must be met for monopolistic competition to exist. These conditions influence how producers and consumers interact and ultimately determine the behaviors of industry participants. The four conditions of a monopolistic competition that must exist. 1. There are many consumers and producers in the market, but no single producer has significantly more control than any other producer. 2. There are differences between the competitors' products, but not price differences. 3. The producers have some control over the price they charge. 4. There are low barriers to enter and exit the market. The first condition may seem counterintuitive. Why would a market defined as monopolistic be required to have many producers? Remember, the term monopolistic refers to the industry. While it isn't a monopoly because there isn't a single firm, it is monopolistic because the many producers that do exist make products that, while not perfect substitutes for one another, are close enough that from the consumer's perspective, they can't go outside the industry to meet their needs. Before we talk about the four conditions, it might be helpful to take this first condition and think of an example. What sort of industry do you think meets this first condition? What sort of goods or services can you think of where you might think, I want a blank, and could go to company A, B, or C to get it? Fill in the blank. Hamburger? New pair of shoes? Real estate agent? All are good examples of industries structured as monopolistic competition. Apply the first condition, the requirement for many producers. Doesn't that apply in each of those? How many different places could you get a hamburger, shoes, or a real estate agent? A lot. And while there may be subtle differences, the products are essentially the same. The second condition is that there is more than just price difference between the products. Again, go back to the hamburger example. You could go to one popular national chain and get a hamburger, or go to another and get a hamburger. You might pay slightly different prices, although likely not significant, and there will also be other differences in the burger. The products may both be hamburgers on a bun with some sides, but most of the time you can tell the difference, can't you? This is an important part of monopolistic competition because remember, the industry as a whole is like a monopoly that offers similar products, but has many firms offering those products. The third condition is that producers have the ability to set their own prices. That seems like an obvious statement, but remember, this is economics. Thus, we aren't saying that a hamburger joint can just set their price, but that they can set their price without significantly impacting demand. Of course, there are limits to doing that, but the general idea is that firms are price setters, not price takers. This is because, as an industry, there are no perfect substitutes. You could go get a salad or a chicken sandwich, but hamburgers are a specific good. Finally, the fourth condition is that there are low barriers to entry and exit. Of course, this low is relative. If you wanted to open a hamburger stand, it would cost a good chunk of change. But compare that to starting an airline or a car company. Relatively speaking, opening a hamburger stand and selling it, exiting the industry, has low costs. This condition is important because low barriers to entry are an essential part of having an industry with many producers. The lower the cost, the easier it is to enter an industry. In this lesson, the conditions and definition of monopolistic competition were introduced. A monopolistic competition is an industry somewhere on the continuum between a pure monopoly, where a single firm holds all market power, and perfect competition, where many firms exist and each is a perfect substitute for the other. As a market structure, monopolistic competition offers goods and services that do not have substitutes outside the industry. If you want a hamburger, you need to get it from the hamburger industry. If you want to buy a house, you need a real estate agent. The four conditions of an industry structured as monopolistic competition are as follows. 1. There are many consumers and producers in the market, but no single producer has significantly more control than any other producer. 2. There are differences between the competitors' products, but not price differences. 3. The producers have some control over the price they charge. 4. There are low barriers to enter and exit the market. When all of these conditions are met, monopolistic competition is present.
The monopolist under monopolistic competition always want to maximize his profit. And now we'll learn about equilibrium under the monopolistic competition. As in the short run, the monopolist in monopolistically competition they will always earn supernormal profit, and in long run they will earn normal profit. So you can see that they are the mixture of the perfect competition and monopoly because there are no barriers to entry. So the good knowledge and an opportunity to differentiate. Now there is condition of the profit maximization in monopolistic competition. As we have learned in the perfect competition and monopolistic competition that marginal cost must equals to the marginal revenue and output is Q and price is P. And here, like the monopoly, the marginal revenue and the average revenue curve will be the negatively sloped. From this diagram, you can easily see that in case of monopoly, we have discussed that the price line, which is here, the average revenue or this demand curve, this is negatively sloped because the monopolist has some power to change the price slightly different from the monopoly. And here you can see that the marginal revenue curve lying below the average revenue curve, this is also the negatively sloped. And uh, in monopoly we have discussed this case that how could you get the profit. First of all, you must know the profit maximization condition will be met where the marginal cost is equals to marginal revenue. The determination of the profit maximization price and output under monopolistic competition is precisely same as for the firm operating under monopoly. To see this, consider the demand curve for this firm presented in this diagram. Since the demand curve slopes downward, the marginal revenue curve lies below it just as under monopoly. So to maximize the profit, you can see here from this diagram that marginal revenue must equals to marginal cost as we have discussed in perfect competition and monopoly. So this output can be given by Q, the profit maximizing price that will be determined by this Q, and here it is the firm's profit are given by this, the difference between price and cost. Now that you understand that the basic principle of profit maximization are the same under monopolistic competition and monopoly. So it's important to highlight one important difference in the interpretation of our analysis. The demand and marginal revenue curves used to determine the monopolistically competitive firm's profit maximizing output and price are based not on the market demand for the product but on the product of the demand of the individual firm. The demand curve face here the negatively sloped. In fact, because the firm In a monopolistically competitive industry produce differentiated product, the notion of an industry or market demand curve is not well defined. To find the market demand, one must add up the total quantities purchased from all firms in the market at each price. So that's why here adding up these differences products would be like adding up apples and oranges. So you can see here that the equilibrium will be take place where marginal revenue is equals to marginal cost. You can draw a line from here and till the price line. You can mention here this is the price line and here this is cost line. Cost average cost is U-shaped and here is the upward sloping marginal cost. The marginal revenue will be equivalent to marginal cost here. You can draw the average cost and here it is price line. So the difference between this price and cost, this is showing the profit. In the long run, the monopolist in monopolistically competitive firm always earn normal profit. So supernormal profits attract in new entrants, which shift the demand curve for existing firm to the left. New entrants continue until only normal profit is available. So this is the important point that they will earn until they will get the normal profit. Because there is free entry into monopolistically competitive markets, if firm earn short-run profits in this industry, additional firms will enter the industry in the long run to capture some of those profits. Similarly, if existing firms incur losses in the long run, some firms will exit the industry. We have also learned this case in perfect competition. If there will be loss, they will leave the market. If there will be profit, they will enter in the market. So to explain the concept of entry and exit in this market, suppose a monopolistically competitive firm is earning positive economic profit. The potential for profits induce other firms to enter the market and produce slight variation of the existing firm's product. So, as this diagram is showing the long run equilibrium, and in case of the long run equilibrium, the average cost must equals to the average revenue, and that's why it is showing the condition of the long run. And here, if the average revenue is equals to average cost, this is break even point, and there is the case of no profit or no loss, like the perfectly competitive firms. As I was discussing, that as additional firms can enter the market, some consumers who are buying the firm's product will begin to consume one of the new firm's product. Thus, one would expect the existing firm to lose a share of the market when new firms enter. So, the marginal revenue will lie below the average revenue as it was in the short run. So this is average cost curve. This is touching the average revenue, and here it is the marginal cost curve. The idea behind the short run and long run monopolistic competition is, first of all, there will be slightly different the demand curve. The demand curve in monopoly, that will be less elastic because there are no close substitutes, and here in monopolistic competition that will be somewhat elastic because there are some substitutes are available, not like the perfect competition, but there are some substitutes are available. So here it is negatively sloped. These two diagrams are, if you will see or if you will compare the monopoly, you will see that there are no more differences in the diagrams, but only the difference in the short and long run. As we have discussed, the monopolist, in short run, he can face the loss, he can get the profit, he can get the abnormal profit, and he can get the normal profit. But in monopolistic competition, in the short run, he will get the abnormal profit, and here in the long run, he will get the normal profit. It means they have the opportunity to enter in the market, to leave the market. In monopoly, because there is strictly forbidden the entry and exit, that's why they cannot enter and leave the industry in an easy way. There are some examples of the monopolistic competition, as you can see here, that the restaurant businesses, hotels and pubs, general specialist retailing, and consumer services such as hairdressing. So these are the basic examples of the monopolistic competition, and you can see here from this slide that shoe repairs and key markers, taxi and minibus companies, and dry cleaners and hairdressing salons. So these are all examples of the monopolistic competition. This is also showing that there are little bit differences like the UK taxi and private hire vehicle industry. So this is also showing the monopolistically competitive industries examples. Here are some advantages of the monopolistic competition. The advantages of the monopolistic competition is there are no barriers to entry. Anyone can enter the market. If there will be loss, they can leave the industry. If there will be profit, they can enter into the industry. And the second main advantage is there are differentiation of the products that will create diversity, that will create choice and utility. It means there are different products are available of the different companies, so there are the different diversities are available. And here the market is considered more efficient than monopoly, but less efficient than perfect competition. It means here they're the less allocative and less productively efficient market here. They may be dynamically efficient, innovative in terms of new production processes or new products. For example, retailer often constantly have to develop new ways to attract and retain local custom. Here are some disadvantages of the monopolistic competition, like there may be unnecessary waste because of excess packaging, because we want to show the different packaging of the products, lucrative packaging, and that's why it may be create the unnecessary waste. And here there is allocative inefficiency in both the long run and in both the short run, so it may be still inefficient. Now here you can go through some other points of the monopolistic competition.
Monopolistic competition is a market structure with many independent firms operating in a competitive market, where each firm sells a slightly different good or service. Monopolistic competition was first identified and discussed by American economist Edward Chamberlain and British economist Joan Robinson in the 1930s. Most high streets are populated with firms operating under monopolistic competition. The key characteristics of this market form are differentiated products, low barriers to entry and exit, a large number of independent firms. Firms can exploit their differences and make supernormal profits in the short run. Only normal profits are available in the long run as new firms enter. The market is very dynamic. Differentiation can be through design, color, distribution, quality, customer service, and staff skills and training. Firms operating under monopolistic competition dominate the high street, with common examples including restaurants, hairdressers, estate agents, and independent stores. Here we see that supernormal profits are available in the short run. In the long run, new firms enter the market, selling cheaper, better, or newer products, or they offer some other distinguishing feature. This pushes down the firm's average revenue curve.
and makes the curve more elastic as there are now more choices for the consumer. This provides the incentive for the firm to innovate to keep ahead of rivals and make supernormal profits. Despite increased choice and innovation, firms operating under conditions of monopolistic competition experience allocative inefficiency, with price being greater than marginal cost, and productive inefficiency, with average cost being above its lowest possible point. This is true in both the short and long run. To see more videos, go to
So here, this is showing the differentiation between perfect competition, monopolistic competition, and monopoly. As the monopolistic competition is the mixture of the perfect competition and monopoly, there are the large number of buyers and sellers in case of perfect competition and in case of monopolistic competition. But in monopoly, there is only one seller but large number of buyers, as there is only one seller who has complete control over the product. And if you see the products, so perfect competition has the homogeneous products, and in case of monopolistic competition, the products are differentiated, and in monopoly, they have both homogeneous or the differentiated. So whenever you talk about the price, in case of perfect competition, the prices are equal. If you take the example of the agriculture products or the stock market, and in case of monopolistic competition, they have some product differentiation, and in case of monopoly, not uniform because of price discrimination, and there is only one seller who has control over the market. And whenever you talk about the entry of firms, so this is very easy in case of perfect competition. The firms can enter and leave the market, and in case of monopolistic competition, there is slightly difference between the enter and exit, means there is little bit freedom is available, and in case of monopoly, there is no freedom to enter and exit in the market. As you have seen here, in these diagrams, you can easily consider, in case of monopoly and in case of monopolistic competition, the demand curve will be slightly different from each other. It means here in monopolistic competition, the uh, demand curve is somewhat elastic, or you can say the more elastic than the monopoly. And in case of monopolistic competition, obviously that will be different. And here, because of there are some close substitutes, that's why the demand curve will be different here. So here you're talking about the differentiation of the monopoly and monopolistic competition. Here, the main thing we have discussed here, the price discrimination. So, the key difference between perfect competition and monopolistic competition is the assumption that firm produce differentiated products. Since there are many products in monopolistically competitive industry, the only reason firms have any control over their prices, the consumers view the product as differentiated. The demand for a firm's product is less elastic when consumers view the other firm's products as poor substitutes for it. The less elastic the demand for a firm's product, the greater the potential for earning the profits. For this reason, many firms in monopolistically competitive industries continually attempt to convince consumers that their products are better than those offered by other firms. A number of examples of such industries come readily to mind: fast food, restaurants, toothpaste, mouthwash, gasoline, aspirin, car wax. Undoubtedly, you can add other industries to the list also. Each of these industries consists of many firms, and the different brands offered by firms in each industry are very close substitutes. In some instances, firm introduce several varieties of products. Each soft drink producers, for example, produces a variety of cola and non-cola products. So here, firms in monopolistically competitive industries employ two categories to persuade consumers that their products are better than those offered by competitors. First, in this monopolistically competitive firms spend considerable amounts on advertising campaigns. Very typically, these campaigns involve comparative advertising designed to differentiate a given firm's brand from brands sold by competitive firms. And comparative advertising is common in the fast food industries. For example, Subway attempts to stimulate demand for its food by differentiating itself as a healthy fast food alternative. To the extent that comparative advertising is effective, it may include consumers to pay a premium for a particular brand. So, the additional value that a brand adds to the product is known as brand equity. Secondly, firms in monopolistically competitive industries frequently introduce new products into the market to further differentiate their products from other firms. These include not only new improved products such as an improved version of laundry detergent, but completely different product lines. Monopolistically competitive firms may also attempt to create and advertise new products that fill special needs in the market. This is called marketing. And through green marketing, for example, firms create and advertise environmentally friendly products in an attempt to capture the segment of the market that is concerned with the environmental issues. Examples of green marketing include package labels that prominently indicate that a toy is made from recycled plastic, or a particular brand of laundry detergent is biodegradable. Unfortunately, successful differentiation and branding strategies sometimes make managers myopic. A brand myopic manager is satisfied with an existing brand, is slow to launch new products, and is not aware of emerging industry trends or change in consumer preferences. So, a few decades ago, for example, um, as the manager of the firm in a monopolistically competitive industry, it is important for you to remember that in long run additional firm will enter the market if your firm earns short run profits with its product. Thus, while you make short run profits by introducing a new product line, in the long run other firms will mimic your products and introduce new products lines, and your economic profit will decrease to zero. And in case of perfect competition, um, because there are large number of buyers and sellers, no one can affect the price, and the firms are considered the price taker. And in monopolistic competition, they are considered like the monopoly. They are price maker but not the price taker, and the goods are they can be homogeneous, they can be differentiated products, because it is a mixture of the perfect competition and monopoly. And here, in monopolistically competitive market, they will always want to take a optimal advertising decision. They always want to maximize their profit, and they will not bear the loss at all. As the monopolist, if you see monopolist and monopoly, they will bear the loss in short run, but in long run they will always earn abnormal profit. But the monopolistically competitive market, they will earn abnormal profit in short run for the shorter period of time, and in the long run, uh, in the long run they will. Uh, normal profit like the perfect competition. And in you can easily make the differentiation in perfect competition, monopolistic competition, and monopoly by their diagrams also, and by their by giving the different examples also. And you can work on also the oligopoly and duopoly. In case of Pakistan, you can give the examples how many companies, or in case of duopoly or oligopoly, you can say which firms are the have the duopoly and how many there are the oligopoly. As you must know about the number of firms, in case of duopoly there are only two firms. In case of oligopoly there are firms from 3 to 13, and in case of monopolistic competition the firms must be from 13 to 80 firms. And in case of monopoly there is only one firm, and there is another market structure also, which is called the monopsony. And you can easily see there these perfect competition, monopoly and monopolistic competition in according to the Pakistan, your nation. And you can also make the comparison of this by any other nation, that how many companies are including in monopolistic competition, perfect competition, monopoly and oligopoly, and you can say the monopsony. Thanks for your attention. This is the quote of your day. Allah Hafiz.